over so you can see the answer key for this whole thing in case you were absent or whatever. On yesterday's videos I did the even problems. Here are the odd problems. You can check for master. Remember, you can pause this video and so you can check a little bit more closely. Now we're going to go ahead and get started with today's review worksheet. So right now, everybody, including Jeremiah, let's go ahead and pause that for now, and we're going to do as many of the odd problems as we can do together on today's review worksheet. And then you guys can do the even ones for homework, but to be clear, you have to do all the problems, including the bonus. It's not a bonus on the homework. You have to try it on the homework. On the test, you don't have to try it if you don't want to. Everybody clear on that? All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. If you know how to do this review worksheet, oh, that's the wrong one, and you want to work on it on your own, that's fine. All of the problems are assigned. But I'm going to be working the odd problems. So if you're not comfortable starting the problems yourself, then follow along with me. All right? Jeremiah, take your earbuds out. Take your earbuds out and let's get your review worksheet A out. Sydney, you awake? Thank you for sitting up. All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. The first set of problems says, solve each system by graphing. Tell whether the system has one solution, infinitely many solutions, or no solution. So just like when we solve inequalities, we have to solve for y before we graph. So the second inequality here, that one is already solved for y, but the first one isn't. So we've got a little bit of work for this one. So we are going to rewrite that right here and isolate the y. Anybody know what we do to isolate the y here?
No,
Subtract 2x, yes, subtract the whole term there. So now we have negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 15. That's an x, not a y. Now, to get y by itself, what do we have to do? It's negative 3 times y. How do we undo times? Division. So dividing everything by negative 3. So our first equation here is going to be y equals, that's a negative divided by negative, so that's positive 2/3 x, positive 2/3 x, and this is 15 divided by negative 3, so that's minus 5. So that's our first inequality now in slope-intercept form. What do we call negative 5? What part of this equation is negative 5?
Y.
The y what? Intercept. And that's the point where it crosses, the line crosses the y-axis. So negative 5, so we're going down here negative 5. Now we have to identify our slope. What's the slope of this line? What's the slope of this line, Tavion? Sorry? So remember, slope. So this slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. The constant is the y-intercept. That was negative 5. The number being multiplied by the x, that's the slope. So in this case, that number is 2/3. When we're graphing it, we want it written as a fraction. This one already is a fraction, so it's up to and to the right 3. We could switch that negative and negative, but we don't need to because these are all up to and to the right 3. Up to, and actually we can only get 2 on here. When you are graphing systems of equations, all the lines are solid lines, remember. And when you graph a system of equations, not inequalities, they're either going to intersect in one point, all points, or no points, right? So this is our first equation. Going to graph our second equation. Now this one's already solved for y. So what is the y-intercept for the second equation? Taj, do you know what's the y-intercept here? Beautiful, positive 3. So that's what we graphed first, up 3 on the y-axis. Can you tell me what the slope is, Faith? Perfect. Negative 2 over 1. And that means negatives down, so we're going to go down 1 and to the right 1, all the way across the edge of this coordinate plane. Down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, down 2 to the right 1, and we can see down 2 to the right 1. That's the point where they intersect, but I still have to go ahead and draw my line. Oh, I'm going to go ahead. Remember, we could do, 2 over negative 1. That way I can go up 2 and to the right 1 and get my last point. You don't have to do that 1 point if you don't want to, but. All right, there's no shading on a system of equations, only of a system of inequalities. So, the solution is this point here where the lines intersect. So that point is an ordered pair, so give ourselves parentheses, comma in between. From the origin, we have to go right 3. That's a positive 3. From there, we have to go down 1, 2, 3. So down is negative, so it's negative 3. Horia, you following along with me? Do you have the answer written here? All right, I'm doing your homework for you. I expect everyone to be following along or working diligently on your own. Armani, your hands are steeplechased right now. That means you don't have a pencil in them. You're not following along with me, and you're not working on your own, right? All right, 3. Solve each equation using substitution. Substitution means we need to solve one of these equations for either x or y, or one of the variables. In this case, this one's already solved for x, so we're going to use that to substitute. This says that everywhere there's an x, we can substitute y minus 3. Right? So here in this other equation, everywhere there's an x, instead we could write y minus 3. Why would we want to do that? You guys remember why we want to do that? Can we solve an equation that has 2 different variables in it?
No.
No. But if we can rewrite that equation with 1 variable, then we can solve for that variable, right? And that's what we need to do here. So we're going to rewrite this equation, but everywhere there's an x, we're putting y minus 3. So it's 2. Very good. Perfect. Yes. And now we take, now we're going to go ahead and distribute 2y minus. Yep. And now we're combining like terms. 2y minus 4y is negative 2y. I gotta pick this thing up. I'm writing too sloppy. Very good. Negative 2y minus 6 equals 12. And we're going to do what next?
Add 6.
Good. Add 6. So now we have negative 2y equals 18. We're going to divide both sides by negative 2. And I'm going to cheat and put y equals negative 9 here without showing that step. So now I know we have one solution. So that means it's got to be an ordered pair. This is the y. It goes in the y spot. Do you remember how we find the x?
Yeah.
How do we find the x?
Put negative 9 into like y spot.
Yes, and I can do it in either equation. So we might as well do it in this second one. This is the easier looking one, right? X equals negative 9 minus 3. So x equals negative 12. So that is the answer. That is the point. If we were to graph those 2 lines, they would intersect in that point. Jeremiah, you also do not have a pencil in your hand. You're supposed to be following with me. I'm literally doing your homework, bud. We are going to come back and do 5 if we have time, but we've already done 1 substitution. So let's go down to number 7. This one is an elimination. This is one where we're either just going to straight add them, or we're going to multiply one equation by a factor and then add them, or we might even have to multiply both equations by a factor and then add them. But, as luck would have it, when you add negative 4x and positive 4x, what do you get? Negative 4x plus positive 4x, what do you get? 0. Very good. And that's what we want here, right? Because now we're going to have an equation where there's only y's. We need an equation with only one variable. So we can sometimes just add these. So when I add these, remember, x's have to be lined up with the x's, the y's have to be lined up with the y's, and the constants have to be lined up with the constants. Jeremiah, bring it up here to me. What you got? What? You get your pencil in your lap? Okay, so you're supposed to be writing what we're writing. You ready? We're on number 7. Negative 4x plus positive 4x is 0. 3y plus negative 4y is negative y. And 10 plus negative 8 is positive 2. Looks like y is by itself, but is y by itself?
No, it's negative.
Right, so what are we going to do to get y by itself? By negative 1, right? Negative 1. So now we know y is negative 2. So now we know we have one answer, and the y is negative 2. Remember, on these problems, when we're solving by substitution and elimination, if you're going to get infinitely many or no solution, that happens when your variables disappear. Yes, Sam?
Are we also going to shade this?
We shade inequalities, systems of inequalities, or linear inequalities. So yes, but we don't shade systems of equations, right? All right, so now that we have the negative 2, for y, we're going to do like we did before. Everywhere there's a negative 2 in one of these equations, everywhere there's a y in one of these equations, we're going to plug in a negative 2. So I'm going to do that in this first one. Negative 4 times x plus 3 times negative 2 equals 10. Negative 4 times x minus 6 equals 10. I'm going to add 6 to both sides. And negative 4x equals 16. Right after school if you have time. Or lunch tomorrow. It's just like chicken. Okay, yeah. You're welcome. Okay. Alright, follow along. Divide both sides by negative 4. And x is negative 4. Alright, I know these were hard for you, so you may want to be following along with me on number 9. This is one of the worst problems. You will have these on the test. Write a system of equations. That means we need 2 equations. It says, suppose you invested $20,000. So $20,000, you're writing what I'm writing. That is the total investment. Yes, Taj? I did simplify it. I didn't write it. My bad. I simplified it, but I just put it in no order here or there. But yes, you did. All right. So $20,000 is the total investment in this word problem. That means the total amount of money that they put in this fund, right? It tells us they invested part at 5%, so part of the money. So a big chunk of money, they invested at 5%. A big chunk of money, they invested at 8%. I'm going to remind myself, I'm not going to use a percent sign, I'm going to use a decimal. If you forget how to convert that to a decimal, just take that and divide by 100. Whatever's in front of the percent symbol, right? This would be 0.8. If you received $1,240 in interest after 1 year, how much did you invest at each rate? So $1,240 is the total interest. total interest. So guess what? Total is our hint. That's gonna be something equals $20,000 and something equals $1,240. But before I go any further, I'm gonna define my variables. So what are my variables? So I'm gonna use an X and I'm gonna use a Y. We know how much did you invest. When you invest, you can invest time, but that's not what they're talking about here, right? They're talking about money. So X is going to be the money invested at 5%, and I'm going to put 0.05. And so what do you think Y is going to be? Nope, money is going to be the money invested at 8%. Right? So you earn interest by multiplying an amount of money by an interest rate. So in this case, some amount of money times 0.05 plus some amount of money times 0.08 would earn interest. So this equation is going to be 0.05x. Let me get a little closer because that was awkward. 0.05x plus 0.08y. So the amount of money at 5% plus the amount of money invested at 8% gives us a total earning or total interest of 1,240. This first one, this is the easiest one. It's money invested at 5% plus money invested at 8% equals $20,000. Well, you know, today's the day I fill out the report for the monthly little feedback thing, right? That means you should probably work in today. So I would say he had a rough start, but he opted to work for the last 5 minutes. Even though he was on his phone and got out of sorts yesterday. I could end it with a positive, if you could end with a positive here, right?
Right,
Alright, so we have these two inequality equations, and I'm going to rewrite them because I wrote them awkwardly here. So I'm going to rewrite it here, x plus y equals 20,000, and 0.05x plus 0.08y equals 1,240. So this is going to be one of those systems of equations where I have to multiply, and you're always going to do this, guys. I'm kind of cheating here. You're always going to multiply this top equation by either a negative version of this decimal or a negative version of that decimal. It doesn't matter because we need one of these to add up to 0. We need to eliminate a variable. So we're going to multiply. I'm just going to do the first one. So this is 0.05x. If this were negative 0.05x, when I add them together, they'd be 0. So that's what I'm going to do. So distribute negative 0.05x plus, let's say, minus 0.05y equals, somebody do 20,000 times 5%. I think it's 500, but I don't even know. 20,000 times 0.05, what do you get? 10,000? No, that's 50%. 1,000, okay, it's 1,000. Alright, so now we're going to bring down the other equation that we already had, just rewrite it. And now we add them together. We add those together, we get 0, and then we've eliminated a variable. Negative 0.05 plus positive 0.08 is a positive 0.03 y, and that equals 2240. Divide both sides by 0.03, and y equals, what's 2240 divided by 0.03, Jacob?
Wouldn't that be negative 1,000?
Oh, thank you, yes it would, thanks Jacob. Gotta be careful, so I did not didn't carry my negative all the way through like I was supposed to. So this would be 240, not 1240, right? Negative 1,000. This is 240, so 240 divided by 0.03. To Paul, you the calculator guy right now?
1.3.
Yeah.
8,000.
8,000. $8,000. So now we know the money invested at 8% is $8,000. So remember, we do not write these as an order pair. We're going to say $8,000 invested at 8%. Now we need to know how much was invested at 5%. That's the X. So all we have to do is plug our Y in here. So X plus 8,000 equals 20,000. Subtract 8,000 from both sides, and now we know that X is 12,000. So we invested $12,000 at 5%. Does that make sense, Faith? Does that make sense, Zanaya? What's that? So invested total of $20,000. 12,000 plus 8,000 is $20,000. And we could check this one too if we wanted to, but I don't want to. Y'all want to?
Nope.
All right, I didn't think you did. All right, I might could squeeze in one more. Does anybody have one on the back they want me to work? We're doing odd ones today. I'll do even ones tomorrow. I'm sorry, Sam. The back here. This is recorded as well. You got it? Any questions on that one? Anybody see one on the back that you want me to give you a hint to get started or anything? Jacob?
I don't really the whole equation, I just don't remember the vertical, like, whether it's on the left or right.
Whether it's left or right. Which one are you talking about?
So the 14, the vertical, and I don't know.
Here? Yeah. So this is a box, right? So that's a vertical line, you're right, through -2. So it's going to be a dotted line. And it asks you, it's a less than. This is the only time, just shade the direction of the inequality. Less than -2 is always going to be the left. So you're going to shade this way. Does that make sense? All the numbers less than -2 are to the left, okay? What number? Okay, so you have 2y equals -4x plus 12. Yeah, you can just add one. There's only one down, just add one up or down, okay? Let me see who sits there, Sydney. Oh, Wasim, well, no, I can't kick Wasim out. But when I switch the seating chart next time, I'll put you there. Okay? Remind me. If I forget, I will kick a person out the next time. All right? Just remind me at the beginning.
You can't kick him out because he has to sit down.